Look out below, folks. The New York Times is dropping bombshells. Hi, I'm David Reddish, and this is Occupy Democrats. The name Jack Smith has been on the lips of every Washington observer over the past couple of weeks. In case you don't recall, Smith is the special prosecutor appointed by Merrill Garland to investigate the alleged crimes of Donald Trump. Those include Trump's role in the January 6th insurrection, his handling of classified documents, and his election interference in 2020. Smith had planned to release portions of the report this week. Last week, he resigned, probably because he knew as soon as the Trump administration took office, he would be fired from the Justice Department. Last week, Judge Eileen Cannon attempted to block the release of the report, though the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals overruled her. Smith has now released Volume 1 of a 2-volume report. In it, he detailed how Trump personally harassed a number of people during the election cycle. Smith reiterated that it was the right thing to do to investigate Trump. He also doubled down on the investigation, saying that had he been able to prosecute Trump for his crimes, Trump would have been convicted and gone to prison. If only. It's generally thought that that Volume 2 of the Special Counsel report will have the most damning information on Trump. Everyone in Washington, and beyond, is now dying to know what's in it, and just how damning the findings could be for Trump. What will this mean for his political capital going forward? With his cabinet nominees already facing headwinds to confirmation, for more on that you can check out our other videos, more and more observers want to know one thing. What is in the report? That includes New York Times columnist Glenn Thrush, who has some seriously harsh words for Attorney General Garland. With Trump set to take office in just under a week, Thrush wants to know what the holdup is, much like the rest of us. In an interview with MSNBC's Nicole Wallace and former FBI General Counsel Andrew Weissman, Thrush didn't hold back. Take a look at this.
Official at the Department of Justice, Andrew Weissman's here. Also joining us, New York Times Justice Department reporter Glenn Thrush is here, and professor of history at New York University, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, is here. Andrew Weissman, I start with you. Where's Jack Smith? Where'd he go?
So, under the rules, Jack Smith, as his final act under the special counsel regulations, has to write a report. And that report, under the rules, is given privately to the Attorney General. So it was really understandable that when he did that, when he handed this in now several days ago, he's sort of done. The issue of all the litigation and what's happening, that's on the Attorney General of the United States as to whether he wants to make it public and the litigation of that. That's not part of what the special counsel does. So I understand Jack Smith saying, we've done what we can do. Remember, he also, you cannot indict a sitting president. You cannot proceed with a criminal case against a sitting president, which is why he moved to dismiss without prejudice the 2 criminal cases that he had brought because of the imminency of Donald Trump assuming that. But what that really leaves is Merrick Garland litigating the 2 volumes of this final report. And unless the Supreme Court intervenes, it really looks like at 12:01 tonight. Unless Merrick Garland sits on it for some reason, we should be seeing publicly the Volume 1 about the January 6th case, with some redactions for instance, grand jury or classified material. But the fight is going to be, and is Judge Cannon is saying, I want hearings, and I'm essentially kicking this can down the road, and it's going to be a slow walk on Volume 2 and whether it can go even to Congress. Because Merrick Garland has said, I'm not planning on releasing it publicly because I'm concerned about the fairness of a trial for the 2 defendants. Footnote, there never will be that trial. But he wants to give the report to Congress, and Judge Cannon saying, not so fast, I want to have a hearing. If that hearing lasts until January 20th, this is all moot.
I mean, Glenn Thrush, I'm going to ask what I want to ask. How does DOJ continue to get outplayed while Joe Biden is president and Merrick Garland is the attorney general? I've lost the plot on all this. Why don't they go give it to the attorney general and the president and brief the country on what grand jurors made up of peers of Donald Trump found in these investigations that were only halted by his election?
Well, first of all, Garland made the commitment to release all of the special counsel reports, starting with Durham, from the Comey controversy. And as everyone well recalls, the report on Joe Biden had profound political consequences, probably as significant as any special counsel report you are ever going to see, certainly more than the ones that we're looking at right now. That's a good question. I mean, they play by the book over there till the very end, and the president has not intervened in previous instances, and there's no inclination, I can tell you, from Merrick Garland or his senior staff, those of them that are still even in the building, to contradict canon in any way. It's just an absolutely stunning reversal. All of the power has moved from the Garland Justice Department and Jack Smith to the Trump team. And I mean, the most extraordinary part of this, or one of them, everything's extraordinary about it, but one of the really extraordinary parts about this is Todd Blanche, the man who's represented Trump in these cases, is about to take over as the number 2 in the Justice Department, arguably one of the most important positions in Washington. It's just mind-blowing how things have turned upside down.
So, does anyone else want to stay up late tonight for the release of this new horror novel? Or would that be too much given that we're all living through one? Merrick Garland has endured wide criticism for moving too slowly in investigating and charging Donald Trump with crimes. And Thrush is right. At this point, why isn't Garland being more aggressive with at least releasing the report? For that matter, why isn't Biden pushing for it as well? We all know Donald Trump will take office on January 21st. Nothing in the report could prevent that. But why the hesitation? Are Biden and Garland afraid that Smith's report might further divide the country? It's hard for us to know for sure. We're still crossing our fingers that Smith's report will release later tonight, and that Garland's strategy will suddenly make a lot more sense. You know, this situation reminds me of something that happened in 1968. It's known as the Chenault Affair. That's when the CIA learned that Richard Nixon, working through intermediaries, sabotaged the Vietnam peace talks in Paris that year. Memos unearthed in 2017 have confirmed as much. Nixon was running for president at that time. His actions constituted a violation of the Logan Act. In other words, he committed treason against the United States. President Johnson learned of the crime just days before the election, but decided not to make the findings public. He was afraid that the knowledge could damage the United States, that it, in essence, could tear the country apart. Of course, Johnson probably hadn't anticipated that Nixon would also commit crimes as president either. Now we have another incoming criminal president. What will this report mean for the future of every American? Let's all just hope it sees release later tonight. We'll be waiting with bated breath.